Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life.
All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling Helena Petrovna Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine, Volume 1 of 4.
Whoa, ambitious.
Yeah, it's not exactly a light read. Dense, complex, but it's packed with these fascinating ideas about, well, everything. Evolution of humanity, the cosmos, symbolism in ancient myths and religions, you name it.
It's like she throws the whole universe at you and says, figure it out. One thing that always struck me is how Blavatsky doesn't just present these concepts. She claims to be revealing this hidden wisdom religion.
Oh, so it's not just what we see on the surface, like there's a secret level.
Exactly, a universal truth underlying all those religions and philosophies we know. A deeper understanding passed down through, well, H's, she says. It's what she calls esoteric knowledge versus the esoteric public stuff.
Okay, that's intriguing, but also kind of make my head spin.
Oh, you're definitely in for a ride. But hey, let's unpack some of it. One key concept is this idea of rounds and races. Basically, a cyclical view of human evolution.
So not just a straight line of progress, we're going in circles.
Precisely. 7 rounds, each a complete cycle. And within each round, humanity goes through 7 root races, each with distinct characteristics, different levels of consciousness. It's like we're on this giant obstacle course, evolving both physically and spiritually, over vast periods of time, of course.
Whoa, okay, so if each root race is like a stage of evolution, what were the early ones like?
Oh, the first root race. Blavatsky describes them as these ethereal beings, almost soft-boned. Like, imagine cosmic jellyfish, right? Gradually evolving into denser physical forms.
Whoa, that's wild. So our, I guess, souls, are they like on this journey through forms, constantly evolving?
You got it. It's this idea of metempsychosis, basically reincarnation. Our soul, or the monad as Blavatsky calls it, is on this incredible journey through different forms, countless lifetimes.
Okay, this is already blowing my mind. And it gets even more complex, right? Because we're not just talking about evolving on Earth.
You're catching on quick. Blavatsky introduces 7 interconnected globes. Our Earth, she calls it Globe T, is just one link in the chain.
Wait, so life exists on other planets? Invisible ones?
That's what she suggests. It challenges our whole Earth-centric view, doesn't it?
Definitely puts things in perspective. And if we're talking interconnectedness, Blavatsky also says humans themselves are made up of 7 principles, like mirroring the cosmos.
Right. She draws this parallel between the structure of the cosmos and us. It's as if we're miniature universes, reflecting the grand scheme of things.
I'm trying to wrap my head around all this. So what are these forces, these cosmic forces that are like driving the whole thing? You mentioned something called Fohat earlier.
Ah, Fohat, one of the most mind-boggling concepts in the Secret Doctrine, described as cosmic electricity, or the messenger of the divine will. It's this fundamental force, guiding evolution, shaping matter from, well, the early universe. Imagine the ultimate Energizer Bunny.
Okay, so we've got cycles of rounds and races, a soul journey through multiple globes and lifetimes, and this powerful force, Fohat, pushing it all forward. Am I even close?
You're getting it. But hold on tight, because Blavatsky also dives into symbolism, offering interpretations of ancient myths. That's when things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of symbols?
Well, take the serpent, a powerful symbol found everywhere, right? For Blavatsky, it represents wisdom, cosmic energy, but also temptation and the material world. Like, think of the serpent in the Garden of Eden. She suggests it might be more than just, a literal snake.
More like a force, a cosmic force, not just good versus evil.
Exactly. And another key one, the lotus flower. It often represents spiritual growth, purity, emerging from the mud, blossoming in the light.
That's a beautiful image. Overcoming challenges to reach something higher.
Exactly. And then there's numbers and geometrical shapes. For Blavatsky, they hold symbolic meaning too, like a secret language.
So there's this whole other layer to decode, on top of everything else.
You could say that, but Blavatsky wasn't just about ancient wisdom. She also had opinions about modern science.
Oh, what kind of opinions?
She thought materialistic science was too focused on the physical, ignoring the spiritual side. She envisioned a true science embracing both the seen and the unseen, recognizing the inherent, life in all matter.
So she wasn't anti-science, just wanted a broader view.
Precisely. Now this leads us to another big concept, karma. But before we jump into that, I think we need a breather. Rounds, races, Fohat, symbolism, we've covered a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. But it's fascinating to think about these different ways of understanding the universe and our place in it.
That's the beauty of it. The Secret Doctrine, despite being dense, really pushes you to think outside the box.
Okay, I'm ready for more. What about this karma thing? What did Blavatsky have to say about it?
Well, she saw karma as a fundamental law, not just some cosmic scorecard, but a deeper principle of cause and effect, operating across lifetimes even. And it's not about punishment or reward, It's about understanding the consequences of our choices and using that to evolve.
So it's like we're constantly shaping our own destiny.
Exactly. But there's so much more to explore, especially how karma ties into Blavatsky's whole worldview. And that's where we'll pick up next time.
Okay, we're back and ready to dig into this karma thing as it relates to the Secret Doctrine. I feel like it's a concept that gets oversimplified sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Blavatsky was adamant that karma isn't just some cosmic scorecard tallying your good deeds and bad deeds. It's a much more profound principle, this cause and effect that plays out, across lifetimes even. She saw it as this force for evolution, both individual and collective.
So it's not about being punished or rewarded, but about understanding how our choices shape, well, everything, like our evolution.
Exactly. Remember those rounds and races we talked about? Think of each lifetime as like a tiny piece of that bigger puzzle. The choices we make, the actions we take, they all add up. They contribute to this overall development of, well, the soul, the monad, as Blavatsky calls it. And that evolution, it doesn't just stop when one life ends. It carries over, shaping our experiences in the next.
So it's like we're creating this tapestry. Each lifetime adds another thread, and those threads, they're colored by our karmic choices.
That's a great way to put it. And what's fascinating is that it's not just our individual karma, right? Blavatsky talks about collective karma too, the karma of groups, nations, even humanity as a whole.
Wow, that makes you think about responsibility in a new way. It's not just about me, it's about how I impact the whole, well, everything.
Exactly. And this idea of interconnectedness, it's everywhere in the Secret Doctrine, from those 7 principles of man mirroring the cosmos to the soul's journey through different globes, and the idea that even small actions, they have these ripple effects. It's all connected.
Okay, you mentioned Fohat earlier. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. How does it fit into all this? Karma, evolution, and Fohat. How are they related?
Ah, Fohat, that's a great question. Think of it as the energy behind evolution itself, the driving force, the spark of creation, It's what pushes the universe forward, shapes matter and consciousness.
So it's like Fohat provides the canvas, and karma is how we paint on it.
I love that analogy. Fohat's the raw power, the impulse to create, while karma guides how that power unfolds. It's their dance, this interplay, that creates the incredible diversity we see from vast galaxies to, the human mind. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Definitely makes you question how much we really know about, well, reality. If Blavatsky was right, there's so much more than what we can see and measure.
That was one of her main points, that science back then was too materialistic, too focused on the physical world. She thought true science should include the unseen, those forces and energies beyond, our current understanding.
So it was like she was advocating for a broader, a more holistic view.
Exactly. And while some of her ideas might seem, well, out there, it's interesting to see how some of them, like the cyclical nature of the universe, actually echo some modern physics theories.
So maybe she was onto something.
It definitely gives you pause. But we should remember, the Secret Doctrine isn't a science textbook. It's a philosophical work, a collection of teachings. It has to be approached in that way.
Right. It's about exploring different ways of seeing the universe, challenging our assumptions.
Exactly. Sometimes those really profound insights come from stepping outside our comfort zones, embracing ideas that might seem strange at first.
Speaking of strange, Blavatsky's take on symbols, that's one of the most fascinating parts for me. We talked about the serpent and the lotus, but there's so much more to explore. What other symbols does she delve into, and what would she see in them?
Well, one symbol she really focuses on is the number 7. It pops up constantly, 7 rounds and races, 7 principles of man, 7 globes in our planetary chain. It's a recurring theme for sure.
7 does seem to be a magic number for her. Why? What's so special about it?
Blavatsky believed that numbers weren't just like abstract things. They held deeper meaning, like cosmic principles, hidden knowledge. And 7, it has special significance across so many ancient traditions. It often represents completeness, perfection, a cycle of creation.
So she was seeing these ancient symbols as a code, a way to unlock deeper truths about us and the universe.
Precisely. And it's not just numbers. Geometrical shapes, too. The circle for wholeness, the triangle for a trinity of spirit, mind, matter. The square often symbolized the material world.
It makes you wonder if there are all these hidden meanings in ancient art and architecture that we just don't know how to read anymore.
I think that's a big part of the appeal of the Secret Doctrine, the mystery, that sense that there's this vast knowledge hidden in plain sight, just waiting to be rediscovered.
Like an intellectual treasure hunt, right? Instead of gold, we're seeking wisdom.
Absolutely. But before we get lost in symbols, let's bring it back down to earth. How does all this, the rounds, races, karma, symbols, how does it relate to us today in our everyday lives?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? It's all well and good to talk about cosmic stuff, but how does it affect how we live, how we make choices, interact with the world.
Well, one key takeaway is that we're not just isolated individuals. We're all connected. And our actions have these ripple effects, impacting not just us, but others, and even future generations. It's about understanding that we're all part of this bigger picture.
So it's about responsibility, right? Recognizing that even small choices can have a big impact.
Exactly. And it's about understanding that we're all on this journey of evolution. Not just in this lifetime, but across many. It's a long game, you could say.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connections here, but there's still something I'm struggling with. Free will. If we're all bound by karma, this cosmic plan, do we actually have any choice in how our lives unfold?
Ah, the big question. Blavatsky had some interesting thoughts on that, on free will and karma. But before we get into that, maybe we should take a moment to reflect. You've been asking great questions. This has been a fascinating conversation so far.
Okay, so where were we? Ah, yes, free will versus karma. It's a tough one. If we're bound by karma, this cosmic plan, how much choice do we actually have?
It's a head-scratcher, for sure. Blavatsky didn't think we're just like puppets, at the mercy of fate. She saw karma as more of a law of cause and effect. But operating them in choices, you see.
Okay, so I'm thinking like we're dealt a hand of cards, but we get to decide how to play them.
Exactly. Think about it. You might be born into a certain family, have certain talents or, challenges, but that doesn't mean your life is set in stone. You still make choices, you learn, you grow, you create your own path. Karma just provides the setting, the playing field.
So it's not if we have free will, but how we use it within, I guess, the rules of the game, the rules of karma.
You got it. And here's where it gets really interesting. Blavatsky believed the more we understand about karma, the more conscious we become of our choices and what they lead to, the more free will we actually have.
Wait, so the more aware we are, the more choices we have. That's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. And that brings us back to evolution, because the whole point of this dance, karma and free will, is to evolve our consciousness, to move towards, understanding compassion, wisdom, all that good stuff.
I gotta say, it's a different way of looking at things, but kind of empowering, you know?
It is. It makes you rethink so much. Challenges, relationships, even those random things that happen, they're all chances to grow, to learn, to shape our karmic path.
Throughout this whole deep dive, it's amazing how much the Secret Doctrine still resonates. It was written so long ago, but those big questions, they're still relevant. Finding meaning, our place in the universe, connection, purpose. That stuff never gets old, huh?
That's the mark of powerful ideas. They go beyond their time. And the Secret Doctrine, even with all its, complicated language, it's full of those ideas.
So as we wrap up, is there one thing, a question our listeners should ponder? Something to take away from all this?
Well, if everything's connected, like Blavatsky says, how does that change how we see responsibility? Not just to the cosmos, but to each other.
Whoa, yeah, that's something to think about. And on that note, we encourage you to check out The Secret Doctrine yourselves. It's a journey, that's for her. One that'll challenge you, expand your horizons, and leave you with a sense of, possibility.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode on While We Were Distracted.